Good evening, everyone. It is 6:04 p.m. My name is Gabriel Harp, Chair of the Ann Arbor Energy Commission, and as Chair, I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm participating from my home here in Ann Arbor. Um, this is the February 11th, 2025 edition electronic meeting of the Energy Commission, and we'll conduct this meeting like in-person meetings. Commissioners, during roll call, please indicate your current location. Also, during the meeting, please remain on camera just as you would be visible during in-person meetings. And finally, mute your microphone when not speaking. Public comment will be by telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call one of the following two toll-free numbers: 877-853-5247 or 888-788-0099 and enter the meeting ID number 956-8718-7876 on your phone. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city's website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN, Channel 16, AT&T, Channel 99, and online at a2gov.org/watchctn. Joe, would you mind please reading the land acknowledgement?
I acknowledge that the city of Ann Arbor occupies is the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Anishinaabe, including Odawa, Ojibwe, and Bodewatmi, and Wyandot peoples. I further acknowledge that our city stands, like almost all property in the United States, on lands obtained, generally in unconscionable ways, from indigenous peoples. The taking of this land was formalized by the Treaty of Detroit in 1807. Knowing where we live, work, study, and recreate does not change the past, but a thorough understanding of the ongoing consequences of this past can empower us in our work to create a future that supports human flourishing and justice for all individuals.
Thank you. And would you mind taking the roll call, please?
Yep. Commissioner Berkowitz.
Present here at my home in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Briggs.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Commissioner Colvin Garcia said they're running a little late. Chair Harp.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Vice Chair Hans. Not seeing at the moment. Commissioner Levin.
Here in Ann Arbor.
Councilmember Malik.
Here, calling from Ann Arbor's Second Ward.
Commissioner Mirsky.
Here at my home in Ann Arbor in Ward 2.
And then Commissioner Overpeck was unable to make it. But Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda as posted and a second? That seems
So moved.
Commissioner Mirsky and Commissioner Councilmember Briggs. Commissioners, please raise your hand if you'd like to make any changes or discuss an issue. Seeing no hands raised, all of those in favor of approving the agenda as posted, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the agenda passes. Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as posted?
So moved.
Commissioner Mirsky. And a second?
Second.
Commissioner Berkowitz, thank you. Commissioners, please raise your hand if you'd like to propose any changes or discuss an issue. Seeing no hands raised, all those in favor of approving the minutes as posted, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please raise your hand and say no. Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to public input. This is an opportunity for people to speak for up to 3 minutes. If you're watching on CTN, please call 888-788-0099 or 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 956-8718-7876. This information is also on the meeting agenda and the video feed. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. To electronically raise your hand to indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds so that we may hear you clearly. And please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments.
I do not have any callers at this time.
Okay. Well, then if there are no callers, we will move on to tonight's agenda, which is a presentation and discussion of the home energy rebate program. Um, and I think we have some guests this evening. Joe, would you mind introducing our guests and kicking us off for the presentation?
Yep. Yeah, we were joined tonight by Jamie from Elevate and Brandon from Michigan Energy Options, who are folks on the rebate team. And I will turn it over to them to give a presentation. I believe you have sharing abilities, but if you don't, let me know.
Great. Let me give this a try. Oh, I think that's the wrong screen. 1 second.
Looked okay on our end.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yep, perfect.
Wonderful. Great. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Jamie Simmons. I am from Elevate, and Brandon, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. Brandon Kowalik with Michigan Energy Options.
And of course, as Joe mentioned, we are here to talk about the newer home energy rebate program here in the city of Ann Arbor. To give you an overview today of what we're going to go over tonight, of course, our introductions, which we check the box on. We'll be doing an overview of the program as a whole, going over the structure, the available rebates. We'll be talking about the funding availability of the program and the application process, program impact, of course, and talking about some of the lessons learned. As many of you might notice, there has been some new adaptations to the current program. So we're really excited to launch, to tell you about some of those new upgrades and also show where we are in the program so far. So, what is the Home Energy Rebate Program? As you know, the Office of Sustainability Innovation has partnered with Elevate and Michigan Energy Options to offer over 1,000 sustainability-related rebates. This program has a budget of $1.9 million for the first year. To participate in this program, you must own or rent in the Ann Arbor city limits. All equipment installed must be at the eligible property and meet the program requirements. All equipment must meet the program guidelines, which are clearly outlined on the website, the program's website, and you must be of at least 18 years of age to apply for a rebate in this program. When we talk about home energy rebates and how the program is set up, we do offer 2 types of rebates to Ann Arbor residents. One would be the market rate rebate, and the other would be income eligible rebates. Market rate rebates are open to anyone who is 18 living in Ann Arbor because of the owner rent can apply to that market rate. But if you're a person who makes up to 120% area median income in the city of Ann Arbor, you are actually eligible for an income eligible rebate, which is a rebate at a higher amount that helps folks who could not regularly afford to go through energy efficiency projects, make it a little bit more real for them, and also help cushion the cost and move the market. These rebates amounts, the income eligible rebates, are actually based on household size. So for example, if you look at the chart on the right side of the screen, you can look at if there is a 3-person household. If you make $134,000 or less, you qualify in this program for the income eligible rebate. Now, that is definitely higher than some of the AMI you might see in other rebate programs, and that is because Ann Arbor is a very special place, as we know. And often the median area income here is a little bit higher than usual. So we definitely wanted to cater to the folks in our community and personalize to the program so we can have the most impact for Ann Arbor residents that we can. So speaking of rebates, let's talk about a little bit of the rebates that we offer. So of course, this program is really designed to target energy efficiency and electrification. As you all know, with Ann Arbor's mission to being carbon neutral by 2035, this program was designed in mind of that. With that, you will not see any dual fuel options listed within this program because we really want to push and drive the market to full electrification and energy efficiency within the city of Ann Arbor. Some of the energy efficiency program measures that we offer rebates for are the attic and roof insulation, wall insulation, rim and band joist insulation, crawl space, basement wall insulation, and air sealing. That is very new that we actually launched on the 29th of January is a new ductwork rebate, which we will be incentivizing more people to look into whether their ductwork is up to standard, and if they need to make any repairs to their ductwork, we do have a rebate for them. Again, these rebates were identified and selected to help push the market of energy efficiency in Ann Arbor. When we think about how much of a rebate a person can get back for market rate rebates under this energy efficiency tier, those are $500 each. For income eligible folks, that would be $1,000 each. Something that is also new to the program is instead of the bundles that we actually rolled the program out with, we have moved to an insulation air sealing bonus. And that means if you complete 2 or more insulation measures and air sealing, you qualify for either the market rate $1,500 bonus or the income eligible bonus of $2,000. And again, you only get that bonus if you complete 2 or more insulation measures. Definitely would love for you to do all those things if your house needs it, and air sealing. For electrification, again, incentivizing full electrification of homes and not necessarily dual fuel. We offer cold climate central air source heat pumps. We also offer a rebate for heat pump water heaters and electrical panel upgrades. That's actually an extremely popular rebate for us at the moment. And something that is new that I'll talk about a little bit in a couple of slides is our new appliances. We are rolling out in 2025 a list of appliances that will qualify for a rebate under this program. The breakdown for the amount of rebates that you can get or the number attached to the rebates that you could apply for as an Ann Arbor resident. For electrification, we do have these rebates not necessarily a set rate, so that you will see the market rates for some of these go from 1,000 to 4,000, and for income eligible ranges and rebates, it goes from 2,000 to 5,500. On the Ann Arbor website for the Home Energy Rebate Program, you will clearly see each one of these measures outlined of what they are, the program requirements, and what that exact amount for the market rate and income qualified rebate is. We do offer battery storage. We do not offer a rebate for the actual solar panels, but we do offer for battery storage, and those rebates are $2,000 for market rates and $3,500 for the income eligible. So speaking of new things that was referenced in the previous slide is the cooking appliances. So to help folks choose energy efficiency and Energy Star appliances, we thought it would be a great addition to the program to include a rebate for the heat pump washer/dryer and induction cooktops. So if you are a person who wants to get one of those really fancy Energy Star 2-in-1 washer and dryers, you can get a market rate rebate for $300 or income eligible rebate for $500. The heat pump washer and dryer must replace the existing dryer, and it has to be Energy Star. And we do ask for that proof of that when you apply. And we'll talk about the application process in a few slides. For the induction cooktops, it must be at least 30 inches with 4 burners. Market rate rebates are $500 and the income eligible rebates are $750. We are not offering a rebate for the portable units, only for the actual exchange of cooking tops. And you see we don't offer portable because we don't want to necessarily offer rebates for recreational things. And we'll talk about that a little bit with the the e-bikes as well. So we want to actually help folks move forward to decarbonization within their homes. So that's why we're really leaning towards being full cooktop with the 4 burners. So e-bikes, this has been an extremely hot commodity since the program launched in July 1st of last year. We do offer rebates for standard and cargo e-bikes. We only allow 1 e-bike per household. It must be UL 2849 certified, and we do not offer a rebate for retrofit kits. We do understand that Ann Arbor has a lot of students, and we have seen some folks show interest, and multiple folks within the household receiving an e-bike rebate. But for now, our program is only allowing 1 e-bike rebate per household. Originally, when the program launched, the e-bike rebate was limited to folks in 1 to 4 units. That has been expanded to include more than 4 unit households do qualify for e-bike rebate in this program. And for both the market rate and income eligible rebates for the e-bikes, we do have kind of a up to 50% of the cost standard. For market rebate, it's 50% of the cost up to 500, and income eligible is 50% of the cost up to 1,000. Currently, we have maxed out of all of our e-bikes for rebates for the 2024-2025 year, but we will be reopening applications in July 2025. And I will pass it over to Brandon to talk about fund availability and applications.
Thank you, Jamie. You can go on to the next slide there. So how to apply for the program? We realized pretty quickly that the rebate application, there was a few confusing parts to it when we launched back in July. So we tried to simplify the process a little bit, make it a little easier for the resident to understand what qualifies for a rebate, how to reserve that rebate, and then how to submit final documentation to receive the rebate application, or to receive your rebate dollars. So we still have an income eligibility application available on the website. This is where a resident, if they're interested in receiving the income eligible rebate amount, they can get pre-qualified for that level. So they'll know that they do in fact qualify for the larger incentive, and can then plan accordingly, and that income eligibility is good for an entire calendar year. So customers can fill out that income eligibility application. Once they get approval for income eligible, they can submit a reservation application. We have online and printable applications on the program website. Online app is incredibly popular and very easy to use. That allows customers to reserve the rebate funds. Our team will then review that application, provide the resident notice of the reservation, and then the resident has 90 days to complete the project, and then submit the required documentation showing, the final invoice, any additional documentation we need to approve that rebate, and mail a check to the resident. Contractors can also claim the rebate on behalf of residents. They can apply the rebate amount as a deduction from the total cost of the measure, making the process even easier for residents, and also allowing the contractor to use the rebate as for marketing purposes, and to help make that sale, push that customer towards making the energy efficient choice. We still have quite a bit of funds available for the 24-25 program year. The graph here on the right of the slides is actually an interactive graph that is on the program website. And so that these graphs show the committed and available funds for each of these three programs that Jamie just walked us through. This will help customers, residents, understand kind of what funds are available and kind of what projects to maybe prioritize if we're running low on some funds, or really help them plan and help them know that there are funds available, have the confidence to know that they can do the project and receive the rebate. These are large incentives, and these are very costly upgrades to homes. So we know that residents kind of want that kind of verification that they will receive those funds, and that is why we have the reservation process as well, to really set aside those dollars for each resident. We are working with OSI to kind of improve the marketing strategy and kind of re-engage residents now that the program has changed pretty significantly. Trying to get both residents and contractors kind of now, re-educate them on these rebate levels, how the program is designed. And we would, greatly welcome any kind of inputs and ideas around increasing engagement that you as the commission have. So program impact since July when we launched to through January, we've provided 222 total rebates to 173 households across Ann Arbor. Of those rebates that we've processed, about 44% of those households are income qualified, and 37% of the measures were installed in income qualified households. 58% of all rebates paid were completed via the reservation process. And I will speak a little bit more on the reservation process in a few slides here. But we are expanding, as Jamie mentioned, to increasing those rebates, adding new measures, including all property types, to help try to boost that participation level even more in the final 6 months of this program year. And then just give you an insight as to where we stand right now. Current reservations, we have about 40 in reserve status with a potential rebate value of $84,000. Those are not included in this table on this slide. And I do want to just quickly mention that the program impact data that's mentioned in this graph does differ from what was given to you guys in your packets. The impacts were calculated incorrectly using outdated estimates rather than current participation. So those are now calculating correctly in the version of the table here that you see. And I believe Joe will be providing the updated version as well at a later time here. So with these 222 measures, we've paid out $324,000 roughly to residents. And we estimate that those measures will have a impact of reducing about 163 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. That's roughly equal to the annual greenhouse gas emissions of about 38 vehicles. To give you, just put that into perspective a little bit. Or it's about the carbon dioxide emissions of 22 homes' energy use for 1 year. And then over the full life cycle of those measures that were rebated through the program, we estimate the carbon dioxide equivalent reduction to be about 2,500 metric tons. Next slide. So what are we doing to move more rebates? And Jamie touched on just some of those measure improvements or increased rebate amounts previously, but we've made a lot of additional changes administratively to improve the program accessibility, make that larger financial impact for residents, offer more diverse rebates, and further incentivize the energy efficiency upgrades. So we moved to a full reservation system where we no longer have separate budgets for reserved and unreserved funds. If you recall from from program launch in July, we had situations where the reserved budgets were fully exhausted for certain measures, and unreserved funds just weren't moving at all. Residents clearly did not want to kind of take that risk of applying for the unreserved rebate. They wanted to have that reservation, know for sure that they were going to receive that rebate, and then move forward with the project. So we've completely eliminated the separated budgets for reserved and unreserved and went to a full reservation system. This will simplify the process for the customer too. It makes it easier for our team to show what's remaining, what funds are remaining. If you recall the graphs that were on the website from a couple slides ago, there was only, we have 3 bar graphs basically, 2 tables, 6 total bar graphs. Now, previously we had 4 different graphics with 12 bar graphs each, trying to show residents, if you wanted a storage rebate and you were income qualified, well, here's that amount that you have. We've simplified it, gone away from that. So now the customer knows, okay, I've electrification budget, it's available, we can reserve. And it will hopefully allow us to allocate more dollars to residents and get more projects across the threshold and being completed and getting money into residents' hands. We simplified the application as well by just consolidating some measures. For air source heat pumps, we used to have 4 different measures available for an air source heat pump. We've now simplified that down into a single rebate measure. Customers weren't sure what they needed when they were filling out the reservation application. So they were either selecting everything or they were selecting the standard air source heat pump and then realizing, oh, I actually wanted the high efficiency version. Simplifying that to a single measure, a single rebate amount will just help make it easier for the customer to know exactly this is the rebate amount I can get and move forward with making that decision, what's best for them. So we're happy to simplify that for everyone. And then we've expanded the reach of the program by adding more measures to the program, such as heat pump dryers and induction cooktops. We've also increased the eligibility by removing that 1 to 4 unit property limitation. And now residents of all types of residential properties are eligible to participate in the program. Again, just removing those barriers, simplifying, and just expanding outreach and expanding the reach. Next slide, Jamie. And then just a couple lessons learned through those processes. Kind of mentioned a little bit of all of these here, probably throughout this presentation, but I'll just quickly go through a few of these here. Multifamily, as we said, we have now removed that 1 to 4 unit requirement. Now residents in buildings with 5 or more are eligible to receive rebates. This works in tandem with these additional measures, such as the heat pump dryer and the induction cooktop. These are things that people in rental units could take advantage of. So that's one of a big kind of program design update. And then the reservation process, as I just mentioned, that was very confusing for people. So by simplifying this, just going to a straight reservation process, it will remove that uncertainty and improve participation. And by moving to a fully reserved reservation-based process, you can still apply if you don't have a reservation. And as long as there's funds available in those budgets, you'll receive your rebate. So by no means, like if you didn't reserve and you get into like let's say a break fix situation or something, and you decide to make that change, you can still receive the rebate, even though we've kind of gone to this full reservation process. We'll still process that rebate for you as long as there's funds available in the program. one of the big issues and concerns that we had with contractors and residents were notifying us was our 60-day deadline for project completion. Just supply chain issues, the contractors being very busy. 60 days was a challenge for some projects to get over that from reservation approved to project completion. So we extended that out now to 90 days, and we provide additional flexibility to now extend that even longer, as long as the resident or the contractor can show kind of that project's moving forward. By no means will a project be rejected or a reservation be rescinded because they're over the deadline. But as long as they're still moving forward, we'll process and allow that reservation to continue. And then the complex rebate structure that we started with just again led to confusion among residents, unsure of what rebates to apply for, pushed people away. Simplifying the rebates into a single measure tiers and increasing clarity in the project requirements helps greatly. Will help greatly in simplifying this process and hopefully increasing resident participation. Next slide, Jamie.
Now we're moving into the questions, but I did want to know, in addition to the things that Brandon mentioned in the last slide, we also did have a website redesign, and that is thanks to our us working with OSI to really envision how we can simplify the website. I'm pretty sure some of you might have visited it a few months ago, and it was a little bit overwhelming because we were trying to make sure that folks had all the information that they needed. But now we figured out a way to give them all of that in a more seamless design. So thank you to Grace over at OSI for supporting on that initiative. So we're open for questions at this point.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Brandon. That was super helpful. Why don't I pass it to Councilmember Briggs?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's always great to hear about this, and I love the rebates. I will say that I used one myself to get an e-bike last summer, and it has done everything that I had hoped and more. I'm now an e-bike evangelist, and I cut out more trips getting around more. So that's great. And I was already a big biker. So I think, I can see it influencing my own behavior. I had just a few questions around that one, which has been a popular incentive. You noted that, I know we just shifted the rules around this, and you mentioned something about there being, there's only one e-bike per household. And I'm just curious how household is defined for apartment situations. Is it by address, or like if there's an apartment building that has multiple units in it, how is that being defined now?
Great question. So for the purposes of the program, we defined a household as a single address that all residents residing in a single address, right? So if it's an apartment, it'd be each unit, right? So if we have an apartment with 3 people in it, 3 unrelated people, that would be considered still a single household for the purpose of the program.
And I'm just thinking about an apartment complex. And so just making sure that that's not, I know that we're kind of tweaking and understanding how this works. We had gotten some concerns around the multifamily housing situation and the lack of eligibility. And I know we're trying to open this up and all that. And I'm just making sure that we're not just trying to figure out if it still needs some modification, or if it's.
Yeah, we're still talking internally with the OSI team and our program teams, because it definitely causes a problem, right? With unrelated people living in the same apartment unit.
Mhm.
You know,
Got it.
they're both still driving their vehicles, right? If only one person get an e-bike, we're only limiting one vehicle travel,
Mhm.
right? So we do understand that, and we are still talking about that, and we're working with OSI, the OSI team, to kind of take a larger, a deeper look into multifamilies, and see whether that means it's a new multifamily program or we make some changes specific to multifamily. But yes, we are aware of that and are working on that.
Okay. And then the other piece, I appreciated hearing what the impact is a little bit of all the rebates that have been used. I'm curious how some of this feels like you'd be able to identify what the greenhouse gas, do that accounting a little bit easier on the biking side. I could imagine that being a little more difficult. And so I'm just curious, maybe this is too detailed, but I'm curious how how we're doing those calculations.
Jamie, do you want to chime in there? I know that's not really either of our experts.
And I can ask that as a follow-up question. I know that's a super detailed question, and I am fine with just saying that I can send in an email about that. It does not need to be answered right
now. I have the answer to that. It's just going to take me a little bit to pull up exactly what calculations we use for e-bikes. But if that's something that we can offer you,
yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to get that, after the meeting or now, whatever seems better. And then, one of the questions that you had was just how to increase the, knowledge of this. I was just looking around this on the city's website a little bit. I have a lot of thoughts, even about our new website. But I think one piece is just going to having the rebates be prominent on OSI's homepage would be a good thing to be able to see that. I think that's one of the things that's most, folks might be looking for the most. And at least for me, I'm not seeing that easily on the homepage of OSI. So I would say that would be an easy lift.
Thank you so much for that note.
Councilmember Malik.
Hi, thank you so much for this presentation. It was great to see the results, and it's still early in the program. We're not even 1 year into this, so it's great to see kind of this impact already. I think I've mentioned to this commission before that I am also one of the rebate recipients from a few months ago. I took part in the home insulation bundle, and I'm thrilled both with the rebate process as well as the insulation work now that we're well into winter, and I've been able to see some of the very tangible effects of having that insulation work done. One thing I did not realize in getting the work done or during the rebate process is that there are rebates available from other sources that can also stack with the Ann Arbor rebates. This includes from like DTE, which our contractor filed on my behalf. The rebate from DT in our case was, not huge by any means, very small in comparison to the Ann Arbor rebate, but that's still money back and still makes a difference. So I guess my question is, would the home energy rebate program consider advertising the possibility of some of these other rebates from other sources to further incentivize getting some of this work done? I know Dr. Stoltz in the past has said, for instance, the insulation work in particular is kind of difficult because it's not exactly a sexy item to talk home insulation. But when you factor in possible federal tax credits, DTE rebates, and it's my understanding that there could be some rebates coming from the state level as well through the IRA, assuming things work out there. Just wondering if that could help incentivize some of this work.
Absolutely. I think that is a really good point. This program was actually designed to be stackable with the other rebates that are available. Currently, we are also working on a partnership with Pearl Edison, based out of Detroit, which offers a platform for folks to kind of get the assessment, sign up for their assessment to help them along with their process. And also it shows which rebates that they would be eligible for within that platform. So we're working with OSI around how we can more market the full extent of impacts that are offered, not just with this rebate program, but with the other things going on as well.
Great. Thanks so much.
Commissioner Murski?
Thank you. I have a number of what will hopefully just be 1 or 2 sentence responses to questions. First of all, let me start by saying I really appreciate the program, the design of the program. I appreciate what OSI and Jamie and Elevate and also Brandon and Michigan Energy Options have demonstrated in terms of sort of a continuous improvement mindset on the program. That's really great to see. So my first question is real quick. I think Jamie said carbon neutrality in Ann Arbor by 2035. I assume, did I hear that wrong, or is it 2030 and nothing has changed?
2030. Thank you for correcting that.
Very good. Okay, great. Second question. I think you said that the total available funds were 1.9 million. I understand that all of this was funded by the climate millage in Ann Arbor, and none of it is dependent on, for example, federal funds that potentially could evaporate. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Great. Question related to that. If I add the figures that were shown by Brandon at the end, 323,000 plus another 83,000 or so in the pipeline, it seems like we will have used about 410,000 or maybe 25% of the available funds for this year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, good, quick, short answers. Will those funds, and maybe this is something that Joe has to answer, will those roll over into the next fiscal year, or do they evaporate if they're not used?
I don't know that answer on my end, but I can get an answer on that.
Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, we're talking about, $1.45 million or so that really could be significant.
I would like to note that with the continued growth of the program, we are exploring a few co-op and multifamily properties in Ann Arbor who are interested in piloting something through this program.
Great.
So we expect that to take up
Yep. Super. Then another question that I have, there was several, or mostly the references were to residents, and there was a mention of renters, but I never heard the word landlord. If a landlord is renting a building and says, I want to do some of these actions, is the landlord eligible, or is only the renters in that building that are eligible?
I can take this one, Jamie. Yeah, the landlord is eligible.
Okay.
We in the very beginning of the program, a couple landlords took advantage and had many of their properties install heat pump water heaters and other measures. So
Great, excellent. Let's see. If I understood correctly, the extra bonus for efficiency with insulation and sealing, the important word there is and. In other words, you got to do sealing in order to be able to also get the extra money for insulation. Is that right?
yes.
Excellent. That's really good because we really want to incentivize sealing. A comment about batteries. I would ask that OSI look at what we want to do with batteries. I think most of us know that there is going to be vehicles, there are already vehicles on a very limited basis with bidirectional charging and vehicle to home. And eventually, and there's some pilots going on here and elsewhere in the world where you can do vehicle to grid. And if we just use sort of the generic, what we all know, Tesla Powerwall capacity of a battery. A electric vehicle has roughly 3 to 4 times that capacity. So if vehicle to home and vehicle to grid comes to pass, and I mean, you have a limited version of that. I actually have a vehicle that has a plug in it where I could, in the case of a power outage, run an extension cord and power, a space heater or my refrigerator. But as that comes to pass, my recommendation is that we really look at driving bidirectional charging and vehicle to home or vehicle to grid, because there's just so many benefits that are going to flow from that. So that's just a comment. And that's something to put in a parking lot for future use. Energy Star was mentioned for heat pump dryers. Was there a consideration of requiring Energy Star for all appliances, just so that we're making sure that we're really pushing the most efficient appliances?
I believe we are essentially, for the appliances that we offer rebates for, the Energy Star certification. I don't quote me on this, but I don't believe that induction ranges have an Energy Star certification yet.
I don't know either. So
yeah, I'd have to double check that. But for everything, like we are offering having the Energy Star requirement for the dryer, I think covers the rest of the equipment.
So maybe just again, another thing for future consideration, put in a parking lot is look at all of the other rebates and consider adding Energy Star requirements either as they exist now or as they are provided. You sort of connected to my next question, and that is the slide on induction reference cooktop. You just mentioned range. I assume they're available also for ranges?
Yeah. We just refer to it as a cooktop, but yeah, so if it's just a standalone cooktop or a range, as long as it's induction,
Yep. And that's clear on the website?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And by the way, that's really attractive. In a different capacity, I was just looking at induction ranges. You can get a 30-inch Frigidaire induction range for like $899. So $750 is really attractive. So that's great. I'm almost done. Sorry. Let's see. You asked about how to really drive people going to this program. Our next presentation is an update on HERD and that policy where we have home energy scores that are basically posted at the time of marketing of a unit. I can't remember. I glanced through the report, but afterwards I didn't think to look at whether or not there's any mention of the rebate program in the form that goes with the HERD, the home energy score printout. Is that in there so that we're telling people, hey, by the way, it looks like you could do this, and by the way, here are the various options, even for things that may not be tied directly to some of the things that are pointed out in the report.
Yeah, that's part of the updates for HERD, is having both those wraparound services that are mentioned in there.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Getting people connected to that, and in the both in terms of, like you said, that report that you get from it. We're also going to have that A20 version of the report that similarly can mention all that.
Okay, great. And then the last thing is, is there any? I know the city budget is approved, like in May every year for the next fiscal year. But it would be really nice, since this is tied to a 20-year millage. Could people just simply oversubscribe to something that's in the budget and have it simply delayed and go into the next fiscal year and do that automatically? so that we don't have to have people re-reserve or anything like that. Is that possible? You understand what I'm saying? So right now I understand if we exceed what's available for the current year, it wasn't clear to me whether I could go ahead and reserve with the understanding that that has been used up for the current fiscal year, but given the 20-year millage, that would automatically then my reservation would go over till the following fiscal year.
It's my understanding, Brandon, of how the system works is that that reservation would be continued as if a person makes a reservation in June, like say June 15th, and then the fiscal year is up in July, would still continue their reservation.
That is true. John, I think what you're getting at though is if like for e-bikes, for instance, like all the program year e-bikes are those funding is exhausted.
Exactly.
Could
right.
you reserve an e-bike now and then still that goes through, you can then do it on July 1st.
I'm essentially first in line, if you will, going into the next fiscal year.
So we currently don't have like a wait list or like a kind of a list, kind of like that designed into the program. If you applied for a e-bike reservation, we would tell you, unfortunately, that the funds are exhausted, and direct you then to come back in July to then reapply.
It would be nice if that could be streamlined. Maybe that's a continuous improvement opportunity. So That's it. Thanks for bearing with all my questions.
Thank you, Tom.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes, first of all, thank you for the presentation, both of you. Very, very informative. I guess I'll start with my suggestion for publicizing, and then I have a couple questions. It'd be cool, like, I think, word of mouth and like what neighbors do is like very helpful. So I would suggest like using the ambassador program to publicize this, as well as maybe even like you could get like a yard sign, kind of like, a construction company would do, to be like, hey, I got energy rebates for this that I just did or whatever. And maybe there could be like a small incentive for them to do that. Like, I don't know exactly if it would be like a few dollars, or they get like a cool like cup or something like, nominal, but that would give them a little incentive to do that. Possibly something similar, like where after they do it, if they do like a post on like Nextdoor or something to say like, hey, I just did this, like, and then again, maybe like a small nominal kind of incentive to do that. Anyway, so a couple of questions just about making sure we're like, using the money as efficiently as possible. E-bikes are cool. I do have concerns about how efficient that is in terms of like, are we going to get like a bunch of college students that are like applying for this, and then they could be like biking without like an e-bike? Like, or are we tracking like surveys in terms of like, hey, is this like, how are you using your e-bike? Like, are you just going for a joyride? Like, that's cool. Like, they're fun to do that with, but is it really replacing you from using a car? That I do have a concern about that. And also, like, how are we measuring the impacts of, I know that was a question that came up and you were going to get back to us on the impacts of it. I guess if you want to answer that first, I guess it's more of a comment, but and maybe it's more directed at city than you guys, but go ahead.
Well, that is kind of a concern in general when designing that for the e-bike program, and that's why the e-bike budget is much smaller than the insulation and air sealing budgets and electrification budgets. We wanted to be able to offer that incentive for an e-bike for people that are actually eliminating travel, but again, the main focus of the program is the electrification and the insulation and air sealing weatherization kind of rebates.
Cool. That's helpful. Another point would be like the batteries. Like, how are we considering batteries? Because like in theory, batteries don't save us like carbon at all, unless, are we using these? They have to be like backup batteries that you're going to use instead of firing up like natural gas as your backup system. How are we like thinking about batteries as a way to be more carbon neutral, I guess?
Well, when the program was first designed, we didn't include solar panels and batteries because
Okay.
the voting measure that was on the table around the utility. So that's why we focused more on the PV storage. But we do incentivize folks who do participate in the solar for all or will participate in the utility to apply for the PV storage to be that storage unit, to be that excess power when it's an outage or something like that. So
And sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just noting that it is to conserve and rely more on the energy that you're capturing.
Okay, so yeah, I would be interested in if you're also looking into the information on e-bikes as to how you're like calculating the impacts of someone buying batteries. And then just one more thing, it's kind of, I guess, more of a comment than anything else is just, well, I guess it's sort of a question and comment, but relating to like the whole contract, like allowing contractors to do it. I do have a little bit of a concern, like, how do we know they're not just like quoting a price that's like more than it would be normally? And then they're like, oh, but now we're giving you this rebate. Like people do that on like Groupon and stuff like that. I mean, this is obviously different, but do we have any way to like look into making sure that they're not doing that?
I can take a stab at both of those questions, but just to really go back to your last question about storage and the carbon impacts. Storage and electric panel upgrades do not have any kind of carbon savings associated with them. The electric panel upgrade is included because it's a necessity when electrifying to upgrade. And storage, as Jamie mentioned, the reasons behind adding that. So I just want to touch on that. And then in terms of contractors, yeah, raising prices and stuff. Obviously, that's a concern. We do tell residents, get multiple bids when you're going out working with contractors. Don't just go with the first one. And then Jamie alluded to the OSI collaboration with Pearl Edison. And that platform, once created, will actually provide a number of bids from different contractors to help residents identify, what works best for them price-wise and system-wise in their homes. So we have a little bit of that and working towards, additional things.
Cool, thanks. That's all I had.
Joe?
Two quick notes. One, just also on again, I don't work directly on the rebate program, but do on Solarize, and got to say, like, that was one of the number one questions we got in every Solarize group is, oh, there's a battery rebate now. So helping, filtering from Solarize where there is group buy discounts into this can be helpful, since we don't necessarily have those discounts on batteries through Solarize. The other thing, just want to say, got clarification on the funds. If they're not all exhausted in a year, they can be rolled into a future year, or if there's a pressing need within the budget, we can shift around a little bit to take care of something there, but they are able to roll into future years.
Thank you, Joe.
Councilmember Briggs.
Thanks. I have turned a bit into an e-bike evangelist over the last 6 months. And so I just want to take that opportunity to do it again, which, I agree. I want to make sure that we're, that the ways that we're reporting on it are as accurate as possible. But I think there's a temptation to think, oh, folks could just get out on an acoustic bike, as I hear is the way to refer to them now, instead of an e-bike. And I absolutely agree. I love biking, but I will say that they can be transformative, and I think that that's one of the reasons that we're providing these rebates is that you can even for the hardy cyclist, which I bike in the sub-zero temperatures, so I count myself in that group. But I never before had gotten kitty litter, for example, on a bike. What you find is that you can just it makes it easy to do a whole bunch of other trips, and we see that students should have this benefit just as much, and they are the ones paying for the exorbitant housing prices in our community and should be benefiting off of this as well. So I want to make sure that we make this available to everybody in our community, especially making those trips back and forth from Central to North Campus. There's a big hill, so let's make it as easy as possible to get around without a car in our community.
Absolutely. And we'll definitely take that note back into our conversations with OSI as we're continuing to grow this program. And as a former Wolverine, I definitely understand that truck.
I'm gonna jump in real quick, and I just wanted to make a couple comments and add a question or two quickly. With respect to the stacking of the federal and the state rollout of some of the federal funds, but also the Ann Arbor ones. Just a note that Rewiring America does have a calculator, so it might be a fairly straightforward add to the rebate program to provide a link to the calculator, which has all of those rebates sort of bundled up for each zip code. And that might provide an easy way for folks to sort of see the whole range of things that are available without doing a whole lot of extra work to make that visible. So that was just one comment there. It sounds like you were saying also that there is my main question was going to be about one of the biggest challenges of this, which is finding the contractors, comparing the bids, understanding the trade-offs of different appliances and things like that. And it sounds like you were describing some of the platform Pearl something, I can't remember what it was, that might provide some of that help and support. And I know for a lot of folks that sort of, for example, understanding whether or not you need 2 inches versus 3 inches of air sealing and insulation on a rim joist, and what that means when, one bid is $1,200 and one is $1,800, and where the difference is and what kind of foam they're using and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a lot of times where some of the friction can come in terms of doing some of this work and the sort of complexity of the choices and the architecture of those choices. So, I was just wondering if there was anything. It might be out of the scope of your remit, but are there things that folks might be able to do to sort of better understand these particular areas, aside from going and doing the research themselves online, which is challenging, I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely. The Home Energy Rebate Program was actually designed to complement the Home Energy Advisor Program that the Office of Sustainability Innovation has. So that's definitely something, a program that we try to push folks into. Like if you're someone who are just starting your decarbonization journey and you need that one-on-one support, that program was designed for you. In cases in which that program is exhausted, I know when it launched, it was 1 million bookings that they had. That's when Pearl Edison will come into play, where here is a platform that you can engage with to get that contractors, to get those assessments, to get those bids, to make this process easier. Even though it's not necessarily what our program does, folks can call in, and if they have general questions, we will try to guide them and point them in the right direction. But City of Ann Arbor is trying to build up, as you all might know, the infrastructure to support those new decarbonization enthusiasts in the community.
Thanks. And then if I could ask one last sort of follow-up is, are there insights that we're able to gain out of the rebate program itself, such as like the various costs of installations or the various costs of things that we're able to fold back into sort of how we learn and design the program itself? Or, are there types of information that we're capturing that we're able to learn from over time?
Absolutely. Yeah, we are capturing as much information as we can in regards to the equipment costs, installation costs, and we're compiling that and hoping to learn from that too. So we see maybe that installation costs are much higher for certain equipment, and our rebates just really aren't doing what we want them to. That's what we're gathering that info to learn about and then update accordingly. So we are still a couple hundred rebates in the door. Obviously, we like a little bit more info coming through, and also then with the additional things we've just mentioned, I think that'll help us get a good understanding too of what contractors are charging for this equipment and help better educate everyone. So yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'll jump in. Also, one aspect of this program that we didn't focus on too much is our contractor engagement. Prior to launch, we met with contractors in the Ann Arbor area several times to kind of gauge what they thought about the program, how they might want to engage with the program, those type of development aspects. And we are planning on, now that we have the program launched, to continue that contractor engagement of getting feedback from contractors, getting an understanding from the data that we're gathering in the program, why certain costs are the way it is, or why there are continuous delays, as we can predict, especially with all the stuff that's going on, the world of the costs of things and getting things from that, we will see a couple more delays. So that's something that we'll have to think about within this program as well as it comes to timeline and working with the contractors.
Thank you. Think, why don't we take one more, Commissioner Mursky?
Two real quick things. You don't even have to answer them, maybe just to park them away. It would be great if all of the city's programs advocated for all the other programs. So if I enter in the door through Solarize, then Solarize tells me, oh, did you know we have this home energy rebate system? Did you know we have Home Energy Advisor? If I'm a landlord and I'm working with Green Rental Housing Program, did you know we have all these different things? If all of them would advocate for each other, we talked about in the reports, that would be really great. And the other thing is, hopefully we're doing something at some level to ensure that spray foam insulation that's being used is low global warming potential, because some of those old blowing agents, and I don't know if they're still really being used much, but the global warming potential of some of those old agents were like 1,000 or more. And there's several of them a lot of them that now just have a global warming potential of 1. So hopefully somehow that's being captured or pushed or whatever. So that's all. Thanks.
Okay. If there's anything else, I want to thank Jamie from Elevate and Brandon from Michigan Energy Options. Thanks for your presentation. This was super helpful, and we appreciate all the work you've been putting into the program and making this work. And I know I've been hearing a lot from folks out in the community, and that they're noticing it. And I think it's starting to get a lot of awareness. So hopefully this is going to catch on, and people will be doing quite a bit in the next few months. So thanks for spending time with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thank you for all your input and your questions. Definitely, we'll be taking a lot of this back, and as we continue to re-envision and grow the program, I think inputs from you all will definitely be welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
And hi, Mike. I just have to say that. Great. Well, we will leave you to it.
Sounds good. Have a great evening. Next, we're going to move on to the staff report. Maybe what we can do is just take a 2-minute break really quickly, and we'll come back at 7:15 on the dot, and we'll just get started with the staff report out and move on from there. In just a second, we want to turn back to the agenda, and next on the agenda is the staff report. And Joe, do you mind? I think we've got a herd update for the Energy Commission as well as possibly some other items.
Yep. Yeah, just going to do the normal staff report, but yeah, as part of that, I know a couple folks had asked some questions about the herd program. We hope to do a broader update at some point soon, just because the 1 year portion of herd is March 12th, I think is the 1 year anniversary, but just had some questions. So just wanted to note kind of in response to some of it, just give a quick update. You can see all of the information in the attachments to it, but just to run through some of just the quick overviews of kind of what is coming up next. Some of it's like what we talked about a little bit during that, for instance. But just noting some of the big things they're focused on right now is figuring out what is, the next step of herd to connect everyone to that. So the herd team is working on what we're calling a wraparound service program, which basically just provides all the information to folks who end up buying those homes with the inspiration and the ability to kind of take action based on that report. So that way they have information on all the programs and incentives we have both here with OSI as well as, some of the other ones around there, just so they're aware of it. They can figure out what they need and they can get connected to resources for, actually making those improvements rather than just seeing a number on a report. Like I also mentioned, where they're working on creating a new A20 recommendations document that will be part of it. What we've been using so far is the home energy score report, which is a great thing. It's developed as part of the tool itself. The only issue is just kind of with some of the stuff we have here in Ann Arbor, it makes it has a certain criteria for what recommendations it recommends. So sometimes that makes it difficult to apply in Ann Arbor, for instance. So it says there's nothing for you to do, even though there's clearly things that can be done, which again, making sure we can connect people to those different resources. Additionally, working on building an online searchable map of all of the properties that have gotten a home energy score. Again, these reports are already publicly available. You can get them through the stream, which is our public parcel database. It's a great tool, but definitely not the most user friendly and requires you to search for everything instead of just having it all kind of laid out. So that online map will have a better user interface for it all. And we've also been working to ramp up the different permissions we have around enforcement. So that way we have better, we've been able to enforce, but now we'll have a better ability to do that. So we can have a more robust compliance. You can see with the numbers there, we've been doing, as it's been going, it's been, ticking up. We've been getting better numbers overall. So this will just kind of help get those last little bits across the finish line as we go. Like I said, those are just kind of some of the quick updates. Be happy to, at some point, if folks are interested, if we want to do a more, a deeper dive into it, we could certainly do that at a future meeting with folks from the herd team. Happy to go into the rest of the updates, but just want to check if there are any quick questions on that. I don't work directly on herd, so I won't necessarily maybe have the answers, but happy to relate them back. So, yes.
Could I just ask a quick clarification for people who might be watching at home, which is the relationship between herd and the home energy advisor program and the home energy score. And I think my understanding is the home energy advisor program is something that might come and give you a home energy score, which you may or may not be able to use for the home energy rating disclosure. I don't know how accurate that is, but maybe you could just.
Yeah. They're different. The home energy advisor is depending on, I guess, who you ask, is more in depth with the sense of one, it's available for everyone, and it uses the energy assessment that we helped we piloted and worked with residents in Bryant, for instance, and goes through and creates that customized path to zero. So it goes through, it has the energy assessment framework, which can be done in person or virtually. Some similar things, some different things, but the home energy assessment then gives you your path to zero of decarbonizing. Whereas the home energy score goes through the regular home energy score process developed by the DOE and them, which gives you that score. The home energy assessment through the home energy advisor does not give you a 1 to 5 score, so it can't be used for that purpose, but it has more education as part of it. Similarly, you can get so many acronyms, apologies, but if you get a home energy score, you can then go transition that into the home energy advisor. Home energy advisor will better help make that more actionable, being like, you got a 5, here's some of the items that recommended, here's here's who you can reach out to, here's how you can get connected to those resources. So they both kind of are stronger in different ways, but they're designed to connect to each other to help everyone get along that path.
Thank you.
Cool. In terms of updates, the first, I just want to do a meta update outside of here, just 'cause I know everyone's kind of asking about it and wondering about it as everything relates to the federal landscape. And I'm going to give the annoying answer of just right now, there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot of things happening. It's changing rapidly, and just everything with these federal programs, their funding and their impact is just constantly changing. We're in an uncharted territory with many of this. A lot of even what we're seeing is likely to be tested in courts in various ways. So at this time, the simple answer is just we don't know how this is going to impact things, how it's going to impact incentives, how it's going to impact all of our programs and everything like that. For folks who are considering things, whether that be incentives or programs or anything like that, the best recommendation is to consult with any financial advisors you might have, with your family, friends, things like that, to be able to make that decision. Because again, we don't have enough information to make a blanket statement on what folks should do at this time. Yeah, I'll pause for a second for questions there. Yeah.
I had heard through third hand, fourth hand maybe, that things like district geothermal is sort of on hold in Bryant, that solar on Ann Arbor Housing Commission properties is on hold. I mean, is that true? And I mean, when do these things, that we have any idea how and when these get resolved? I mean, this is really putting a monkey wrench into all kinds of things potentially, right?
Yeah, federal programs all have a 90-day pause to evaluate their efficacy, how they fit in with everything, and until it could happen sooner than 90 days, but that's what we have, and until then, we are where we are.
Commissioner Mirsky, something that was aligned with what I was hoping to ask, but I'll ask kind of different details about it. So Bryant neighborhood, I recall recently, Joe, I think you actually specifically worked on getting like a $10 million grant, if I'm getting the amount right, from, I think it was the Department of Energy. I'm curious if that also falls in the uncertainty, if there's any intel around that. And I was also curious, do you know like where the funding came from for that? I was just Googling it, and I was curious if it was like the bipartisan infrastructure law, if it was the Inflation Reduction Act, if it's just DOE's discretionary, something different. I'm just kind of curious because that might impact the context or status too.
Yeah, yes. Same thing there. It's the 10 million is from the Department of Energy. It is for the geothermal. Same deal. We're in that 90-day pause for the time being. I'm almost positive it's the Inflation Reduction Act. If not, it's the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, but I'm almost positive IRA. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Briggs.
Yeah, and obviously there's a great deal of uncertainty all across the country. We know that this is not, climate is, say it generously, is not a priority of the current administration. The impact to us locally potentially is my understanding it's $32 million in grant funding that is potentially on hold right now. And so obviously there's a lot of different other areas. That's just climate funding through OSI. There's other transportation funding and things like that. But we're monitoring this. We have to continue as a city and as a community to continue to make the case for why these grants are important. And I think a lot of them are being reconsidered. And hopefully, we'll see how things turn out. But obviously, a big impact.
Yeah, we are, again, everything's where it is, but we are constantly monitoring, constantly looking at all the things and looking for, all sorts of alternatives where we can. So more to come soon, hopefully sooner rather than later, but lots of uncertainty at the moment. As for the rest of the updates, with the leaf blower ordinance that went into effect, we now have a program that's designed to help lower the cost of transitioning from gas to electric lawn care equipment. In accordance with that, there's going to be discounts for electric lawn care equipment and rebates for electric leaf blowers that will be available beginning on March 1st. More information on that, including the rebates and specific discount information, as well as all the eligibility, you can go to osi.a2gov.org/leaf blowers. We also have the next recipient of the Sustaining Ann Arbor Together grant, or SA2T, is Sun Bundle. They're a nonprofit with the goal of empowering fitness and fostering wellness education within underserved communities by upcycling athletic gear. Using the grant, they're going to be establishing branch organizations in 5 different university campuses across Michigan and to build and deliver 1,000 care packages in the next calendar year. If you're interested in learning more about the Sustaining Ann Arbor Together grants, you can visit a2gov.org/SA2T. With everything around the Sustainable Energy Utility, or SEU, we are continuing to register interest in the Sustainable Energy Utility. If you or anyone you know is interested in enrolling or getting more information as it becomes available, you can go to a2gov.org.a2SEU and fill out the waitlist form. Maybe not relevant for everyone here, but just for the broader audiences, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, or EGLE, has announced the first in a series of requests for proposals offering $5 million in initial funding to support the deployment of non-public level 2 alternating current electric vehicle charging stations at existing multifamily housing units. Grants are capped at $300,000, and applicants will be accepted and processed on a first come, first served basis until that funding is exhausted. For more information, you can go to the Clean Fuel and Charging Infrastructure Program webpage by the Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. We have our next upcoming sustainability forum will be at the downtown branch of the Ann Arbor District Library on February 26th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. For the second session, where you can learn about the work the Office of Sustainability Innovations is doing to advance sustainability within the local food business community, as well as hear from the local food entrepreneurs who are reducing landfill waste and advancing a more circular, regenerative food system. And then we've extended the deadline for to submit for the A20 Community Cookbook to March 1st. So please consider sharing your favorite sustainable recipes to be featured alongside Ann Arbor chefs, farmers, and community food leaders to showcase just how good sustainability can taste. You can go to osi.a2gov.org/cookbook to submit your recipe for more information. The only other thing is rebates, but I believe they covered that during the presentation on all the new updates there. So check out the website to see all the new things, or watch the rest of this recording from earlier. That's all from me.
Thank you, Joe. Much appreciated on all fronts, as always. Okay, we will move on to the reports from other commissions and councils. And we'll start with a report from other commission first, and then I think the Environmental Commission, and then move on to report from council.
If I may, I have a question for Joe. Joe, can you give us a status update on the Green Rental Housing Program? It was presented to the commission 4 months ago. We approved a resolution of support with some requested actions to be taken. This affects more than 50% of Ann Arbor households. And when does this go somewhere?
Yep. Yeah, we're currently going through the final feasibility review for the administrator that goes just through all the impacts to our budget, staffing, everything like that. So they have a full understanding of how that goes, with the hope of going to council within either later this month or early next month is the goal. So soon.
Okay. Thank you. So as far as the Environmental Commission is concerned, there was one primary agenda item, and that is we received an overview of plans for the comprehensive stormwater management plan update. So Jen Lawson presented that. The process actually started last year, but the community is going to start hearing information about this very, very soon. There's going to be an advisory group that's going to be set up. There's also going to be stakeholder meetings that are going to start to take place. It's a really holistic approach. It's claimed to be the first of its kind type of comprehensive plan update in the Great Lakes region. So hopefully it's something that can be replicated in other communities. So if you have any interest in that, you could look at the presentation that was posted in Legistar for that particular topic. That's it.
Thank you. Much appreciated. We'll move on to updates from council members.
Happy to provide a little update. I had Council Administration Committee meeting today, and something that would probably be of interest to this group is for those folks who've been following the Municipal Energy Utility Phase 2 study that was postponed to ensure that there was strong community support for that as well. And then reaching that sort of piece, it goes back to Council Administration Committee, which anyway, it got voted to move on to council. So it will be back at council for consideration on February 18th. The phase 2 to understand kind of what the costs would be of setting up a municipal energy utility. That would come along also with a companion resolution that would begin instructing legal staff to be considering kind of elements, particularly in relationship to putting something on the ballot for November of 2026 that would require a millage to fund the litigation. Anyway, for folks who are interested, you can kind of encourage you to read more about it. It'll be up for consideration, and folks should reach out whether they're in support or in opposition of this. So there's that. Also, unrelated, but since the website was mentioned and links were mentioned in this, just folks should know if you're trying to find anything on the city's website right now, the website's having some issues. There were some updates, and not if you Google things, you often get to a broken link right now. Even if you're searching on the city's website, you end up at a broken link. It's in a process of updating. We think it's going to be better within the next couple of weeks. It's apparently a Google interface issue. We're not is how it's been explained to me, but it can be frustrating if you're looking for something in particular right now. But hopefully it'll be up and working properly soon.
Thank you. Okay, I think now we're moving to our second opportunity for public input. This is an opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes. If you're watching on CTN, please call 888-788-0099 or 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 956-8718-7876. This information is also displayed on the meeting agenda and video feed. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand one by one using the last 3 digits of your phone number. And to raise your hand and indicate your desire to speak, please press *9 on your phone and you'll hear an automated announcement allowing you to speak. Please move to a quiet area and so that we may hear you clearly. And please state your name and address at the beginning of your comments. Joe, do we have anyone on the line?
No callers at this time.
Okay. We will now move on to items for our next agenda. And let's see. And I'll just open this up to any suggestions on future agenda items. We have a few sort of in the queue that we have been discussed the last couple of meetings. But if anyone wants to add anything else at this time, we can feed that in. We typically try to meet to discuss the agenda, usually the week following our commission meeting, and sort of arrange for whatever's needed to pull together items on the agenda, whether it's presentations or information, to help support that agenda over the following weeks to prep you also, just to give you a sense of the sort of timeline and how that comes together. Commissioner Mirsky.
If yes, a question and a request. The question is, we had considered in 2023 a resolution drafted by Ken Garber regarding the assessment of a carbon fee through zoning. Chair Harp, you and I and Ken Garber had done quite a bit of work in the last couple of months looking at that. Is that on tap, or what's the status of that?
As far at this point, we haven't seen an updated resolution sent to either Joe or any of the chairs, as far as I'm aware.
It was sent to you by Ken about a week ago.
For the next, okay. We can put that on the next agenda, the next meeting agenda. I believe that we had sort of planned potentially for that to come up in March and or April, as the case may be. And so,
and then
thank you for raising that, because that can be clarified, and I'll reach out to Joe too to follow up as well after.
Right.
after.
And I know that there's going to be some discussion of legality and things like that and precedents. I know that Commissioner Levin also took a look at this and has some opinions you may want to share. So there's a couple of different layers to that topic. The other question that I would appreciate being addressed, and we addressed it briefly in the last meeting, but also in some discussions after the meeting, is what is the future of the Energy Commission and the Environmental Commission. I had mentioned that we are not backfilling openings now for almost 2 years. In the Environmental Commission has also, I don't know how it was delivered, but essentially been told also not to backfill openings. And it's pretty common knowledge for those that are sort of in working with each other between those two commissions that there's discussions quite going back many years of combining the commission. So I think it would just be appreciated, at least from my perspective, if we get someone who really tells us honestly what's going on and what decisions are being made and which ones haven't been made, and that we just are dealt with openly and fairly. That's my request. So that can either be done tonight or that can be done in the future meeting.
Councilmember Briggs, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that latter point. I think I appreciate you raising this, John. As we've kind of had separate conversations around this, those conversations are happening. It is been a situation where there's been a lot of exploration and conversations and internal conversations with staff around how this might work as well. And among commission chairs, and trying to make sure that, seeing before anything is discussed or presented, that we actually have some level of proposal that has been vetted that could be presented. So it has taken a very long time to come to something, but I anticipate that we're very much primed for having a conversation about this soon. And so I'm sorry that it's been such a lengthy process, but sometimes it's been it's just taken a long time to sort through some of these different ideas. So there's no desire to keep any commission members out of this or to keep anybody in the dark, but rather to make sure that when we should put it into the light that it actually is something that is worth having a conversation around.
Other items for the next agenda? Okay, I anticipate we'll be able to follow up in the next few weeks with updated agenda for the next few months. I think there's a few different topics we want to revisit. One included also, I think, an update on sort of where we might be at with respect to the SEU proposal or SEU process potentially as well. So we're going to take a look at that probably next week and try to follow up with y'all. Okay. Let's see. I think that now it is 7:41, and as chair, I can declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for a great meeting, and look forward to seeing you next time. We'll follow up with anything over email. Much appreciated.
Thanks all. Have a good night.